friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. This is the start of my You Pick My Kindle Unlimited TBR. I know that I will be reading The Sword of Kaigen, which is the pick for the Shelf Space book club. Well, I guess it's been picked by not myself because it's been picked by Jessie May, who runs the book club. And as this is on Kindle Unlimited, I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to read some of the books that are on this service and actually make most of this subscription. And I have come up with a list of quite a few books that I am interested in that are on Kindle Unlimited, and I thought I would leave it up to you as the viewer to pick my TBR. By the time this is up, you will have had the opportunity to have picked 2 books for my TBR, and I will be putting the poll up on my Instagram. So the list of books that I have found that I'm interested in are A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Cover, The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab, Crown of Feathers, If We Were Villains, Ash Princess, Sky in the Deep, The Queen of Blood, The Three Body Problem, and White Hot Kiss. So those are the ones that I found. I'm sure there's loads of other ones that would interest me, but from looking through the catalogue, these are the ones that have stood out to me right now. I obviously cannot read all those books because that's all a bit intense. So I will be picking 2, you will be picking 2 of those books for me to read to join Sword of Kaigen in this vlog. So I thought I would split it up into a standalone poll and then a series poll. Here is the first poll, and I will check in once I know the results and what book you have picked for me. Hi, I just thought I would pop in and say that all of the titles that I've picked from Kindle Unlimited are all in like the fantasy or sci-fi genre, as I know that so much of Kindle Unlimited is, I guess we think of it as being more focused on romance or thriller, and so I thought I would try and like show that there are other genres available on the service and it's not just romance that you can find on Kindle Unlimited, and actually there are so many titles that you just don't realise are available on it. The results are in for the first poll, and If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio has won by a landslide. And this is not the one that I really wanted to read. You've done me dirty. I don't want to read this book. Well, I do, I just don't feel in the mood for it right now. Hopefully I really like it and I'll be very happy with what you've picked, but if I'm not happy, then I'm going to blame all of you for this. I've downloaded it on my Kindle and I will be starting it tonight, so we will see how it goes, and hopefully it'll be a good one, and hopefully I should be trusting what you're telling me to read, but we shall see. I'm now 80% into If We Were Villains, and it's fine, but I have really like no strong feelings about it. I could completely give or take it. I could just drop it and not continue. When I'm reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty interesting, this is pretty good. But then when I'm not reading it, I have no desire to pick it up. And it's just bland. It's like a packet of unsalted crisps. Like, it's crisps, which are good, but they're just missing all of their flavour and va-va-voom. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just flavourless. That's how I describe this book. It's flavourless. And I mean, I haven't even described the plot. The plot is that you're following this character, Oliver, and at the beginning of the book, he's leaving prison after being in there for 10 years, and you don't quite know why. You know that something has gone on 10 years prior, and he is recounting his story to the detective that put him behind bars. And this detective is now like finished his career, he's old, and he's like, I just want to know what's happened. I don't care about it. I'm not going to put you back in prison. You're leaving it anyway. Like, just tell me the truth. So he's recounting his story, and then you jump back to the past, and the majority of it is told in the past with him at this school. It's a school for actors and artists, and it's a bit out there, and they're all it's like a very niche school that will produce these amazing actors, and they go out into the world with this great education, but it's all very quirky. Like, the characters, they're all fine. I don't feel as though maybe I don't relate to them. I don't know. because I'm not an actor, because I'm not obsessed with Shakespeare. Maybe that's it, me. I think this will, if you love Shakespeare, if you really enjoy reading Shakespeare and playwright and plays and acting, then you will probably really like this book, and you'll probably really get into all those bits about Shakespeare, because there are big sections of the text which are just extracts from different Shakespeare plays, which I pretty much just skim over because I'm like, not another Shakespeare play. The writing style doesn't really like gel with me. It just feels like going back to school. So, but I think if you really like that, then you will probably really like this book and really connect with it in that sense. I just don't connect with that. I like the setting, I like the atmosphere, and I do want to know like what's happened and how it's all got from being where it is to him being in prison or leaving prison in present day. Like, I want to know how that's happened, and I will get that in the next 20%, which I'm going to finish today. But it has taken me so long to read this book because I've had no desire to pick it up and read. And I blame you. It was you that picked this. It's your fault for making me slumpy. I'm really looking forward to finishing this book and actually hopefully reading something that really engages me, because this hasn't engaged me. I've got no like strong emotions and like there's no like heart and soul. There's no like, I just want to feel, and this book isn't making me feel. So I'll check in when I finished it, but for now I don't even know if it's like, maybe it's a 3-star. It's very middle of the road, bland. I finished, finally. Felt like I've been reading this book for a lifetime. I finished If We Were Villains by ML Rio. My thoughts still stand as they were previously. Like, it's just missing a bit of flavour. I don't know about the ending. Like, it all got pieced together, and I guess I'm okay with how it got pieced together. But then right at the ending, it's like the author was going for like one message or like one tone, and then she got to the final page and she was like, oh no, let's just change that. It's as though she couldn't quite commit to a certain tone and message at the end, which just didn't quite sit well with me, and I just wanted that commitment. If you've read it, you'll probably know what I'm trying to get at, but I just didn't like the final page. But anyway, I'm very happy to have finally finished it, and I'm able to move on. And maybe as I've just finished it, maybe my thoughts will like mature by the end of the vlog. Just checking in to say that I started my second Kindle Unlimited book last night, and that was The Sword of Kaigen by ML. I've only just realised that 2 of the books that I've picked have the initials ML. So ML Rio for If We Were Villains and ML Wang for The Sword of Kaigen. That's just freaky. I wonder if the third pick, well, I don't think the third pick can't have ML in the title, but that's just a weird coincidence. So anyway, I have started The Sword of Kaigen by ML Wang, and I've just finished chapter 5. So far, so good. This was not really picked by you, it was picked by Jessie May and Elliot Brooks as the Shelf Space book club pick, but to make this like a 3 Kindle Unlimited books, I'm throwing it in here. Sorry, it's the way it is. So far, I'm honestly surprised that this is a self-published fantasy book, that the writing is really strong. I'm really enjoying the writing style of it. It's a bit tricky to get into because there's a lot of characters and a lot of words which are a bit jarring, and it's quite tricky reading on a Kindle because I can't flick backwards and forwards to the glossary or to the map. So I have been reading on my Kindle, and then I've had the glossary up on my phone, which is okay, but it's still a little bit of a faff. But that's just a formatting thing and not a book thing. So it is just a bit of a getting used to the terminology and all the characters. So far so good, and I've seen in the Discord that everyone is chatting about chapter 7, so I really need to get to chapter 7 to see what everyone is talking about, because I'm like, well, what have I got coming? I am 34% of the way through now, so I think I can give a little bit more information on the plot and what's going on. In this book, it's following 2 perspectives, Misaki and Mamoru. And so Misaki is a mother figure, and you're following, it jumps around a little bit with her timeline, so you've got her in the present day, and also you see her growing up in the past and what her upbringing was like. And I can see why Jessie, the bookish mum, loves her. She seems to be like a very strong female character that's going through motherhood and being able to decide like who she is, and you can see how she was as a teenager and growing up and what she expected out of her life, and then how the impact of motherhood affects that and where she is now and how she moves forward with that and how she comes to accept who she is and the choices that she's made that have led up to where she is. Then you're following her son Mamoru, who is a 14-year-old. I believe he's about 14. He's a teenager and he's at this school, and there's like a training and emphasis in fighting and powers. So people in this world have different powers. Like he is able to manipulate water and snow and ice, and he's trained to be able to create a sword out of ice that is able to cut through steel and metal and everything. And it's set in this world. These people are based in this place called Kaigen, and it's a very isolated country or part of the world that they're in, that they're very rural, they don't have very much technology, and in this world there is technology and there is sort of electricity and all of that, but they don't have very much where they are. They are very reliant upon what information the government gives them. There is a warring country that they are up against, and it seems to, at the moment, it's all about like perception and who they perceive as the enemy and how they perceive the rest of the world, and what, not necessarily right and wrong, but like how the government can influence the media that you receive and whether you're actually always being given the right information or not, and who you can trust. And I'm not quite sure where it's headed. I haven't quite got a clear picture of where this book is going, but I'm enjoying it. I'm just not quite sure what the path is currently. But then again, I'm only 34% of the way through. So, like, it's not impacting my enjoyment. I just don't quite know where we're headed. So far, so good. I really like the characters, and I do want to explore more the different fighting techniques and the different powers that they all have. Again, I am seriously surprised that this is self-published because it is written really well, and I'm surprised that it wasn't picked up by a big publishing house. There is a chapter in this which really focuses on miscarriage, so if that is a trigger for you, then I would want to highlight that it is explored in here. I have never gone through that in my life. To me, it seemed to have been written really well and really sensitively to that subject. I don't know if ML Wang has personally experienced that either. I don't know. But just so you are forewarned in case that is something that would upset you. So I have now finished Sword of Kaigen, which is the second book that I was reading on Kindle Unlimited. And this was the Shelf Space Buddy Read pick. So I've just put my review up on Goodreads, so I've really thought through all of my thoughts on it. And there was a lot of it that I really liked. Like up until about the 70% mark, I was really, really enjoying the book. That I really felt for the characters, and the book definitely had an emotional impact on me. And the magic system is really cool. I really loved how ML Wang combined like elemental magic with martial arts, and like that whole system, and how depending on where you are and like what, I guess, god that you're descended from, it depended on what sort of powers you had. So like some of them had the power over water, some over fire, and how some people were stronger than others. So I really enjoyed that whole aspect of it, and also the themes that Wang explored, like to do with grief and motherhood and identity, and I really felt a lot for the characters. The climax in the book is around I guess around the 60% mark, so it's a slightly weird structure that you build up to this climax, and the climax was so good. The battle scenes were amazing. Like I think she did an excellent job of writing these battle sequences. But then after that, you have the whole last third of the book, which is exploring the impact of this battle and the consequences of this on the characters and how they go about coping with it afterwards. And that's a very interesting structural choice. And I think it was great that we were able to see how characters deal with battle and the aftermath, the after effects of it, because that's not normally explored so much in fantasy books. However, this then, it did create a few like teething issues for me. A lot of this book feels a bit like a prologue to a wider story. I feel as though there is a lot more going on in this world that we just don't know about, and that actually these events would then lead to something much, much bigger between the warring countries. That you have the Empire of Kaigen and the Rangan Empire as well, and I feel as though there's a much more going on there that we just aren't told about, and that it would be continued in a much bigger series. I have a few other issues which were more due to character decisions, and I don't know if part of it's because that I would make different choices, and so I don't agree with the way the characters behaved. These issues still bother me, so I feel as though there are some character inconsistencies in the way that they act and the way that they behave, that they, in some way, in some parts of the book, they behave in a certain way, and so I can't quite understand some of the decisions that they have made because it doesn't fit with the way that Wang has originally portrayed them. The other ones, it's very hard to get into without spoiling the book, but I have written a Goodreads review with all my thoughts, so I will link that below. So if you are interested in hearing my spoilery thoughts, then you will find them there, and that will go into my main gripes, because it's very hard to explain why the bits that I didn't like so much without talking spoilers. I've struggled a bit with rating the book because for the 70% of it, I was really enjoying it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a 4.5 stars. And then all my gripes really just, they didn't come along, but like they became more forefront in my mind. And so now I'm struggling with it because I'm trying to remember that actually I enjoyed the majority of the book. I just had loads of problems at the end. So I think I'm settling on a 3.5 stars, but rounding up to 4 on Goodreads. But now we're on to the final pick of You Pick My TBR. So I've had the poll up on Instagram, and the 3 options were The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst, White Hot Kiss by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. And the winner of the poll was The Queen of Blood. So I'm very happy about this because it fits into my Shelf Space Reindeer Games readathon, because it is set in a forest, which is one of the prompts, so well done for that. I'm actually really excited about reading this. I've heard great reviews for it. I know that Elliot at Elliot Brooks has read this series this year and really, really enjoyed it, and it looks quite short, so I'm hoping I will be able to fly through this in the next few days. I am now 25% of the way through, as I started it last night, and so far so good. I don't feel like I've got too much to say on it currently. I'm enjoying the third person perspective that you're following. We've got a main character, but you're also following a few other characters as well, so I quite enjoy how it's not just focused on one person, and it's set in this world where there are humans, but there are also sort of spirits, so like fire spirits, earth spirits, wood spirits. The queen controls these spirits, and if she ever loses her power, then these spirits will run rampant and kill the humans, and everything will go wrong. The queens aren't chosen by blood. It's like there is a constant, well, not competition, but like there's a constant schooling of people that have the power to be able to control spirits, and their education so that they can control them and then either become like guards of the queen or people that patrol the queendom, and then could become the next future queen. So I'm really enjoying that aspect. Our main character at the beginning of the book, she suffers a traumatic experience, so spirits kill her entire village, and she discovers her power, so is able to stop them from hurting her family, and she wants to be able to, this is when she was a young child, and now you're following her as a teenager, and she's entering into this school to learn how she can better control her magic. Also following a queen's guard as well, and there seem to be spirits killing villages that all over the kingdom, happening more and more often. So that's where I'm at. So I'm now just over halfway done with Queen of Blood, and I'm really enjoying this book, so thank you so much for finally giving me a good pick. I needed it after your first pick, which was not so good. So at least this time you've actually shown me that you can pick a good book for me. Yeah, I'm just over halfway through. I really like the world. The world building is just, it's really interesting, like this forest setting. So all of the houses in the cities, they're all built in this forest. And they use the trees, like everyone can just climb up and down the trees. They have platforms linking it all. To get between places, they have like wires. So I'm imagining like them ziplining around the trees to get between villages. I like where the plot's headed. So it jumps like there are quite a few time jumps moving forward. So in some ways I might have wanted a little bit more time in each place. Like I really liked the school setting, but you move on from it quite quickly because it suddenly goes like, and in her 3rd and 4th year, she blah, blah, blah. I just enjoy school settings. So I just wanted a bit more time with that. But even so, I'm enjoying where it's headed. I'm enjoying the world and the plot. I don't feel as though I know the characters like really well yet. I haven't like formed an emotional attachment to our characters, but it is a trilogy, so it has time for that to happen. And I think that's because of the third person perspective, that we're not in their heads, so you don't get all of their thoughts. I like the characters, I just don't have like an emotional attachment to them yet. It's definitely a really solid YA read, and I am definitely intrigued enough to keep going with the series currently. Yes, I've now finished The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very solid YA fantasy. I'd say my thoughts still stand from what I said at the 50% mark, like they didn't really change in the second half. I liked the characters, I liked the way it was told, I liked the sort of the third person narrative, and you had our main character, but you also had moments where you followed other characters, like you followed her mentor and you followed the queen for some moments, and you got the insight into not just the main character's head, which I really enjoyed, that you had a broader view of the world. And you can see the ending, that it is definitely like set up for a wider plot now, that there's going to be so much more fun to come in future books, which I'm very looking forward to. So yes, I will definitely be continuing with the series. Good pick there. I think I'll be giving it 4 stars. It was a solid book. It wasn't like, it didn't like blow me out of the water. It's not a new all-time favourite, but it was very solid, and I expect the series will be as well. It will all just be very solid. To wrap up this whole vlog now, I have now read 3 books on Kindle Unlimited, 2 of which were picked by you and 1 was picked by Jessie May and Elliot Brooks. None of them have been an all-time new favourite book. I can blame you because you're the ones that picked them, but I don't know if any of the books in the selection could have been all-time new fave, because I haven't read the whole selection. So maybe there wasn't a 5-star out there for you to pick. I wasn't a massive fan of If We Were Villains. I've decided that I don't think it is a 3. I think it's more like a 2.5, just because I don't know how I can give it a 3-star when it was flavourless. Yeah, as time's gone on, I'm just like, oh, what even was that book? What was the point in it? And that sounds awful because it's someone's life, it's someone's work. The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, and that one I'm going to give a 3.5 stars. Overall, I really enjoyed it, but it had a few bits and pieces that I wasn't too much of a fan of, and my review of that is going to be linked down below. And then The Queen of Blood, which was my favourite. Well, it's a bit tricky. Like, it's a bit tricky just to compare the Sword of Kaigen and Queen of Blood, because they're very different genres. Like, I'd say The Sword of Kaigen had more of an emotional impact on me, but The Queen of Blood, I enjoyed the whole plot all the way through. The ratings are very hard to compare across those two. That I'm not saying The Queen of Blood is necessarily better than The Sword of Kaigen, because I can really see the merits of The Sword of Kaigen. I just had a few bits that bothered me. And yeah, and then I would be giving The Queen of Blood 4 stars and really enjoyed that one. So overall, the experience of doing this, I'm not sure if I would do this sort of thing again, because although it has the fun aspect of like putting it up as a Instagram poll and then waiting to see like the anticipation of what you're going to pick, overall I am a mood reader, and it's really hard to read books that I'm not necessarily in the mood for. Like when you picked If We Were Villains, I was like, oh, that's not the one I want to read. Why didn't you pick another book? I struggle with that because I just want to pick up what I want to read, and I'm not very structured with my reading, and I don't want to turn reading into I'm reading this now and I'm reading it for 3 days and that's what I'm reading. I want to be more like, maybe I'll pick up this today. Maybe this one actually. I don't know if I'm in the mood for that one anymore, and just going with the flow. And this really prevented me from going with the flow. So this is why I'd struggle doing this again. Let me know if you found this a fun experience and if you liked the way this all panned out. Maybe I'll do it again, maybe not. So please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!